Julie?
Yes.
Oh, I just switched my audio, so I just wanted to make sure you could still hear me.
We can, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the City of Waterloo Special Council meeting Monday, January 31st, 2022 at approximately 2 p.m. We'll begin this meeting with roll call, beginning with Ward 1, please.
Good afternoon. Councillor Hanmer, present.
Councillor Bodley, present.
Councillor Veith, present.
Councillor Freeman, present.
Councillor Vasic, present.
Councillor Henry, present.
Councillor Bonigo, present.
And the mayor's here too, that's all of us. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather, the land on which we're broadcasting from today, is land traditionally cared for by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral people. We also acknowledge the enduring presence and deep traditional knowledge and philosophies of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today. And today, as we'll continue our personal journeys, today is a little bit about our corporate journey. We're going to be introducing a new team, and I know that council is very excited to hear all about our new Indigenous initiatives, anti-racism, accessibility, and equity team. Under a moment of reflection, January 29th was the National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City Mosque attack and action against Islamophobia. On that day in 2017, 6 Muslim people, Ibrahima Berry, Mamadou Tanu Berry, Khaled Belkacemi, Abdel Karim Hassani, Azzedine Safini, Abu Bakr Tabti were killed, and 19 others injured by a gunman who entered the Islamic Cultural Center of the city of Quebec shortly after the end of the evening prayers. The perpetrator of this heinous act was consumed by hate. This hate is far too familiar for Muslims who experience Islamophobia in their everyday lives. The horrific attack in London, Ontario this past year reiterated the fact that Islamophobia is not a thing of the past, but very present in local communities. It is important that Canadians honor the memory of the victims, to recognize those who selflessly and courageously put themselves in harm's way to protect others, and to express solidarity with the survivors of this tragedy. We all also need to denounce the rise of Islamophobia, xenophobia, and all other forms of racism, hate, and religious discrimination, and take action to combat them. We, as Council, will continue to respond and address all forms of hate and racism in our community. I'd now like to ask Council for disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof. Hearing none, we move forward to item 8, delegations, and as I mentioned earlier, we're now introducing the Indigenous Initiatives, Anti-Racism, Accessibility, and Equity team with leader Sanjay Govindaraj, Naran Akintunde, Brian Hill, and our friend from all years gone by, Amy Ross, in many different roles in the city of Waterloo. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sanjay.
Through you, Mayor Juroski, I'm really excited that we finally have a complete team to address reconciliation, accessibility, equity, and anti-racism. The team was formed, as you know, with extensive engagement with the community. Staff and committee members have worked together to complete every aspect of the hiring process with the Indigenous Initiative Advocate, Anti-Racism and Social Justice Advocate, and our Accessibility Advocate. I would like to invite Brian, followed by Niran and then Amy, to briefly introduce themselves to Council. Thank you. Brian, if you can unmute, please.
I'd just like to extend my gratitude for being able to be a participant on this team. My name is Brian Hill. I am from Oneida Nation of the Thames First Nation. Bear Clan. I'm an active member in my community with regards to Indigenous rights, Indigenous history, in all its forms. I've been involved a great deal with not just my community, but also the Nammon Friendship Center here in London, working with the City Council and the Mayor's Office, and working with advisory committees connected to City Council as well. I have a background working with the Thames Valley School Board, Children's Aid Society, and the London Police Service as well. Doing a lot of education, sharing, teaching, just in general, just trying to my best to help dispel some of the stereotypes that have been brought forward over the years in regards to Indigenous people in general. Our issues have no boundaries. They're similar across this country, this land that we call Turtle Island, that is more commonly referred to as North America. And it's just it's a growing position not just with Waterloo and Cambridge and Kitchener, Guelph, but all across this nation that there's individuals like myself who are being brought forward to assist with understanding, with sharing, and with teaching more about the Indigenous perspective when it comes to communities, municipalities, and the greater public. And again, I'd just like to acknowledge the opportunity that the City of Waterloo has afforded me, and I look forward to working within the administration as well as the community to help as best I can with the understandings that I have, and then support the community members and staff with their going forward with Indigenous knowledge and understanding. And I look forward to also being able to meet everybody in person, because that's the best way to start that acknowledgement is to see people face to face, put faces to names and voices as well. With that, thank you, Yongo, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian. Niran, can I invite you please to unmute and introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Sanjay. Good afternoon, distinguished councillors, my colleagues, and everyone who is connected to this call. My name is Niro Akintunde. I am the new anti-racism and social justice advocate at the City of Waterloo. And it is with a deep sense of gratitude that I come into this role, especially for what it means for the equity, diversity, and inclusion mission of the city. My academic journey started with sociology, then I transferred to study law. So I completed my bachelor's degree in 2007, and I had a practice in criminal law and human rights enforcement for over 7 years. My practice and understanding of the nature of how the formal criminal justice system is defective to the extent that it is rooted in punishment and ignores the need of the victim of a crime sort of led me to study restorative justice. And I completed my Master of Laws program in restorative justice at Dalhousie University. My previous role as a service coordinator for the SULA project at Community Justice Initiatives, which is located in Kitchener, was to coordinate restorative justice responses to hate incidents that are motivated by Islamophobia, racism, xenophobia, and other forms of prejudice within the region. In the course of my work, I interacted with institutions of government and stakeholders who are involved in this work, like the police, the equity department of the police, the Waterloo Regional Housing, the Waterloo Region District School Board, and also subsidized housing managers, community agencies, various racialized communities, and faith-based groups, including members of the public, on issues relating to identity-based harm. My current role shall include facilitating meaningful relationships between the city and members of the community, especially those voices that have not been listened to enough. The goal is to strengthen social relationships within the city, where the rights of everyone to equal amount of respect, dignity, and concerns are satisfied. Part of my role is to support internal training, policy development, evaluation, and also practices that allows for sustainable EDI goals to thrive in the city, and also to give a sense of belonging to everyone in the city. Also to explore how the city can respond to complaints and enforcement with a restorative justice lens. This is very important to the overall experience of the people in the city when it comes to law enforcement, how to integrate restorative justice approach to law enforcement in ways that help to improve the nature of human interactions between our dedicated bylaw officers and members of the public, especially where a non-adversarial approach might be appropriate in certain situations. It is therefore my commitment to work with my team in order to fulfill the purpose of this department in ways that help address the problems and improve the experience of anyone who feels marginalized or disenfranchised in one way or the other within the city. I thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope this will be the beginning of the change we all crave for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niran. I know you all have met Amy Ross. I'm so excited to have Amy join the team as the accessibility advocate. And Amy, can you please unmute and share?
Good afternoon, Mayor and member of council. Thanks so much for sharing your time with us this afternoon. I'm really excited to be joining this team. It's particularly salient to me that the accessibility portfolio has been elevated at this city because it has not been elevated at a number of other municipalities. And as you are aware, disability can be a factor in anyone's life at any point in time. There's lots of intersectionality with disability. I think most of you know me, but for members of the community that might be participating in the live stream today, I'm a longtime member of the City of Waterloo staff. I have worked in a number of areas, but what has been particularly relevant to this portfolio is that my community development work, and I look forward to applying that in many ways out in the community, advocating for accessibility rights and needs. I came to the city back in 2011 while pursuing my Master's of Public Service from the University of Waterloo. And over time, I completed the Leadership Waterloo Region program and have gained great clarity and insights from a number of organizations that participated in my program year. In terms of the work that I will be advancing, I'm really looking at representation, barrier removal, and belonging. So continuing to support the corporation to meet the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act compliance, and supporting the ongoing efforts of the Grand River Accessibility Advisory Committee. And then outside of that, working more deeply with teams across the corporation to ensure that accessibility is at the forefront of decision making and that we are not creating additional barriers. I really look forward to building and renewing relationships with individuals and organizations in the disabled community to make sure that voices are present in decision making and included in all city projects and plans. And really looking forward to the development of shared resources and information that we as a team as a whole can support staff with in their equity decision making. I am thrilled to be working very closely with Sanjay, Brian, and Niran, and look forward to our next visit to council to share some success stories.
Thank you so much, Amy. If there are any questions to either me or the team, we're open to take them.
Thank you very much, Sanjay and team. You know, I so crave for a day when we can all be together and meet, because you would have seen a lot of smiling faces around the horseshoe, just so proud of the beginning, the new beginning that we have here, fresh for 2022. We're just so excited to see the team that's been put together, their powerfulness, and I think, if anything, their powerful, peaceful, quiet powerfulness. And I think that that's something that we all look forward to enjoy. And let's see, I do have hands going up already. I'll just turn it over first to Councillor Vasic. Please go ahead, Councillor Vasic.
Thanks. Through you, Mayor Jaworski. I feel similarly about many of the things you said, and I also encourage you that when it's appropriate to please be loud too. I have a question that comes out of last weekend, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask it. I'm interested in your perspectives. I'm so grateful to have just met all of you over the screen now. I'm very excited to work with you and get your perspective on things like the question that I have, which is that I think we all watched the circumstances unfold in Ottawa this weekend, and it was very disheartening. Ultimately, people are saying this was about mandates and vaccines and the right to peaceful protest. But what we also know from what we can see in the media and pictures on social media is that this movement is also appears to be led by those who support white supremacy, racism, supporters of Nazis and Nazis. And so the movement behind this, for those who believe in free speech and right to protest, they're emboldening the, oops, sorry, let me turn that off. But they are, they're being emboldened. There were swastikas, there were Confederate flags, and of course there was the desecration of sacred memorials. And while it's easy to say that's something out there, it's not local to here. We didn't see that stuff happening. It does happen here, and related to Ottawa specifically, there are members of this community who are allegedly being targeted for speaking up about the racism at the convoy in Ottawa, and we also have businesses who are actively supporting it as well. And so it's connected to here. And so given all of this, I'm curious what your thoughts are. The school board locally has responded, at least on social media. The Toronto District School Board has responded in a statement, and hate has no boundaries. And so I'm just really curious, and I struggle with this all the time. Do we as a municipality have a responsibility, and what might that be to address things that happen outside of our community that might be connected, particularly as they relate to the portfolio of this team? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vasek. Through you, Mayor Jaroski. Thanks for raising this question at this important time. As you know, City of Waterloo does recognize the right to protest as a form of expression guaranteed in the Charter. However, as a city, it is important to reaffirm a value to recognize the right of everyone to equal amount of respect and dignity, regardless of their faith, identity, race, sexuality, religion, creed. In our city, we will definitely cannot condone hate in whatever shape or form. We also urge that, there's been a lot of incidences on social media and happening in the community, that any hate kind of incidences, the new team might be able to connect them to the appropriate resources. The well-being of everyone in the city is very important, and like Niran just shared, we do need to look at it from a restorative justice practice in responding as a first step. But I did look into some of the potential as a municipality based on what's happening in other municipalities. Owen Sound, Orillia, and Barrie, they do have some regulation on hate symbols to some degree. And I know London has put a small working group together to address this. But many of these bylaws that are at a municipal level prohibiting signs for offensive messages or symbols. And they kind of have not really looked at defining what kinds of flags could be included or excluded. I looked at City of Barrie's sign bylaw that specifically provides signs on public property that contain any profanity or obscenity or other messages that may be offensive or discriminatory as defined in the Human Rights Code. But the thing underlying most of these bylaws, it does not prohibit discrimination generally between private individuals, or the term offensive or discriminatory are not specifically defined in the Human Rights Code. So when you look at what City of Waterloo's sign bylaw, I know we do include similar prohibitions prohibiting posters, signs which are offensive, inappropriate, or for unlawful activities. The prohibition does not apply with respect to many other types of signs regulated by the bylaw and does not apply to flags. So This is a lot more complicated than trying to see how locally we could respond, but I know as a city, we could definitely support some of the larger coalitions that do have statements that can be supportive to some of the things that we are observing. May not be in Waterloo region, but in other parts of the country. And like we see in the recent demonstrations relating to the Black Lives Matter movement, I know councils and several municipalities in Ontario passed resolutions calling on the federal government to extend those criminal code provisions to specifically prohibit symbols of hate. Symbols, flags, it's really challenging as to what symbols that you can potentially look at as a hate symbol. But this is definitely a work that might need to be taken up, not just by us in Waterloo, but engaging the region and other municipalities so that we could have a way of addressing this much more proactively.
Thank you, Sanjay. So it sounds like we have work to do both locally around those specific symbols, but then also thinking through how we speak to these kind of issues that are kind of out there, but that are also impacting people who are living here.
Definitely, Councillor Vasek. It is something that we have to address and do take up and amplify some of the voices that are feeling that they cannot speak up at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I have Councillor Henry. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, and certainly welcome to welcome Sanjay to your team, including Amy to join us, Brian and Niran. Look forward to the work ahead. I have two sort of questions that I want to sort of touch in on. One, I think Sanjay, Niran, one thing that I know that Council heard through the decision around allocating, reallocating, resources to be able to create the team. I'm not going to pick you up, Finn. Sorry, you have to watch the TV, please. Sorry, we have little ones afoot these days. In decisions to create the team, we had folks, particularly from our local Black community organization, speak to the need to sort of pull out and sort of separate among the more broadly equity deserving groups umbrella under anti-racism, specifically anti-Black racism from others, recognizing that there are many specific anti-racism efforts we need to do for different communities, but recognizing that often as a group they felt left behind in some of these efforts, that we might address it for some, but that we don't tackle very specific things for that particular group. And I'm wondering if you wanted to start by commenting on the approach and the lens with which the team will sort of engage on those differential issues inside the broader umbrella of anti-racism. I thought it would be helpful to speak to that right off the bat with the new team, given things that had come up during the process at the council level.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Through you, Mayor Jaworski. You raise a very important point here, especially given how each population in our community feels about racism and how it impacts them in different ways, and it's quite unique to each community and group. As a team, one of the first steps Brian, Niran, and Amy are doing is to actually reach out to many of these groups, individuals, elders, and organizations that have been advocating for exactly why this team is in place. So we will be looking at unique ways in responding to Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, addressing an urban Indigenous plan, and kind of looking at how we can potentially make shift but also not forget the uniqueness and the difference and how each of these groups have their own struggles when it comes to accessing city programs or accessing or even living as a member in this community. So you're right, Councillor Henry, it is going to be a lot of relationship building, a lot of listening, and also integrating intersectionally about when Amy does her engagement with people with disabilities, how does it impact someone who's racialized or someone who's Black? Because those voices are never kind of integrated. So we are looking at, I know some municipalities have had separate plans addressing anti-Black racism as a strategy, but we need to really see, based on what we hear from the community, what really would be the way to go for the city of Waterloo. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. I appreciate that commentary. The second um, question that I had, and I'll preface this by saying what I really appreciated, and I hope the community appreciates in terms of the initial rollout of the team, media messagings, and today is the transparency, not just of the process to get here, transparency and engagement of it, but the transparency of what the first priorities are, because there certainly can be an exhaustive and exhausting list of issues to tackle. So it's really helpful to see where the team is moving first. And so I appreciate that. As you build up the work plan for 2023, because I know the next council will see that in business planning as we do budget time, and then into strategic planning. I wanted to flag and get your sort of thoughts on where this fits into the picture around two sort of ongoing projects that are coming through in 2022 and 2023, and then something potentially after that. One is, I know Tony's team in communications has been helping support the organization through, the IAP2, public engagement, guidelines and training and those pieces. It seems to me that there's an overlap between some of these initial priorities and helping the organization engage better with different groups and the training we're broadly providing around how we do public engagement writ large for projects. And I was wondering if you could sort of comment on the ability of the team to sort of help and engage with Tony and others to broaden our understanding and reach of public engagement to really meet the moment here. No, I'll put my second one second. I'll stop there and then I'll come back.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Through you, Mayor Jaworski. You raise a very interesting piece around engagement in general. And I know as a community of practice, the city's been looking at how do we further enhance engagement. And we have a very exciting opportunity right now with the strategic planning process. And in the past, I know the city has engaged a consulting group who has helped us with that. But we would like to really integrate some of the engagement work through Tony's team, through Sandy's work on the strategic planning, but also with all the relationship building and consulting and connecting with all the different groups that the team will be providing. We're really trying to add an equity and inclusion lens in the whole engagement process itself. So we're not, different arms of the city are coordinated and our resources are kind of also pooled together. And we are also looking at engaging with Kitchener in the region as they do their engagement along similar lines, because I know teams have been created both in Kitchener and the region, and I know Cambridge is also looking at it. So there's a lot of work to do on that front, but really hearing the voices from the Indigenous community, people with disabilities and racialized equity deserving groups would be a key piece in our engagement strategy as we build the long-term vision for the team and for the city. We will have a shorter interim plan for this year. We're definitely looking at a 3 to 5 year action list, because each of those demands are so huge, and having a small team, we need to really prioritize what we can address immediately and what needs much longer term engagement and consultation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And it occurred to me what I was trying to reach, but I didn't have written down in my notes of other ongoing projects in the work is our sort of once a decade update to our official plan and the official plan review process, and how that sort of overlaps with programs, services, policies, practices, which are listed in many of the priorities of the group. So I do hope and appreciate that there'll be as much engagement as we can sort of build in to try to do as much as we can, recognizing we can't do everything in this round. So the other thing I wanted to sort of ask you and leave you with, I attended between meetings over the lunch hour. I think Kitchener's team had pulled together a speaker series, and first in there was on feminist cities, how man-made cities fail women. And that's there's an intersectional lens to women. When we've dealt with gendered issues, we have often pulled white women ahead and left other women behind, and that's an area that we need to sort of engage on. But that got me thinking about a couple of different opportunities as we look forward into new budget cycles around the ability of us to look at gender or other based sort of analyses in sort of budget planning and the rest, and how that might integrate. So I leave that as sort of a thought and a question out there for future business planning cycles, for how we can sort of build that into the most important aspects of how the city allocates resources, time, and attention into making sure that the things we're advancing help advance on these questions as well, and don't just leave them behind. So I'm not sure how much of that is a question or just a leading comment for looking at future work plans. But I again thank you for the introduction, Sudan. I look forward to meeting people in person over the coming months.
Thank you, Councillor Henry. Councillor Bonnegar, please go ahead.
Thank you. And through you, Mayor Jaworski, first of all, I'm very excited to virtually meet you all. I'm really looking forward to what you can do within the city. My question is actually for Mr. Anderson, if he's available. I'm just hoping to find out what the process will be kind of internally within the bureaucracy of the city to connect this team to all of the other departments, and what that flow of work will look like, and how these new voices at the city will kind of be integrated into those other departmental decisions that'll be being made.
Through you, Mayor Jaworski. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. A great question. It is a journey, as noted here. It's early days for the team forming up, and really early days for Sanjay joining the City of Waterloo. But Sanjay's role is directly participating in our corporate management team meetings. Sanjay, of course, is regularly attending at council as well, kind of translating those goals and aspirations and directions back to his team is really the flow moving forward. I know Sanjay has plans for introductions across the various departments, divisions, and sections across the city. Notwithstanding COVID, I think there's still good opportunity for connectiveness, and as Councillor Henry was noting, we're starting to turn our attention to budget process and business plan for 2023, which really serves as a great opportunity for integration of the direction of this team and kind of assisting programs and service delivery across the organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all from me. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Well, thank you all. I think, Sanjay, you have a wonderful team there. I so miss seeing Amy in the office for the past 2 years, but every now and then I will drive by, and I think I've seen you, Amy, on William Street a couple of times. But Brian and Iran, we look forward to seeing you here sometime. And but certainly don't be a stranger. You know where to reach us all. We're all very excited to figure out new ways we can support your team's initiatives because it's so great for the city. So thank you very much, Sanjay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thank you.
As we move on to item B, it's the Uptown BIA 2022 budget overview, and it's just a budget overview, and highlights from 2021 by our Executive Director of the Uptown BIA, Tracy Van Kelsbeek, and I believe Tracy's also supported by Board Chair Nancy Fox today.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, everybody, for inviting us to join you today to give you an overview of what was happening within the BIA over the past year, and then the 2022 budget that we'll have, we'll take you through at a high level. So with that, and through you, Mayor, to everybody, if we could just go to the next page on in the presentation, and I'm trying to do things kind of back and forth. Perfect. It shows that great infographic. So to say that 2021 has been yet another challenging year for our Uptown family is definitely an understatement. COVID-19 has had a devastating effect on many of our Main Street businesses, from which some haven't and some won't return. But if we know one thing, we know that Uptown is resilient. We saw this adaptability during the many years of LRT and streetscape construction before the pandemic. Businesses evolved to serve and engage their customers in new ways. The same can once again be said about this past year. Our Uptown businesses continued to navigate a winding path out of this COVID-19 maze, and the BIA has been with them every step of the way, providing advice, coaching, funding, advocacy, and importantly, an ear to listen. Over the past year, we welcomed 33 new businesses to our fold, and we still have more on the way. We've also had a business retention rate of 95%. For these reasons and more, we can and should celebrate. However, we need to also remember that, for various different reasons, including the pandemic, 11 businesses closed, and most, if not all, are left. Most, if not all, who are left continue to be in a state of flux and uncertainty. Events continue to look different in 2021. We weren't able to host many of our flagship festivals. However, on a positive note, this summer we were able to introduce a new open air night market where we had 7,000 visitors. And in the fall, with a partnership with the Mayor's Office, the Mayor's Oktoberfest Market, on one day where we had 1,700 folks that came to visit. We've also expanded our Art Walk on Hughes Lane to Dominion Lane and initiated several innovative media and advertising campaigns like our trails, our maps, and walks in an effort to bring people to Uptown in a self-guided and safe manner. And our social media stats have grown significantly this past year, as you can see with the followers and impressions. If we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. My slide's not working. There we go. We continue to advocate on behalf of our membership, participating in letter writing campaigns with our Ontario BIA colleagues, sending out emails and meeting with many government and elected officials and community leaders to share how the pandemic has continued to affect small business, specifically around Uptown. With the help of all of you, we increased the funding amounts from the Come Back Up Fund. We provided $150,000 in financial assistance to over 70 Uptown businesses. If we look at all of our programs in general, or together, in total, the BIA funded almost $185,000. Those programs include Hand in Hand, Co-op, Advertising, Spotlight, Waterloo, and Uptown Music, as well as Come Back Up. We continued with our targeted communications to the membership, highlighting important information coming from the government, as well as other related resources and opportunities. We continue to sit on advocacy committees, including 2 under the Business and Economic Support Team Waterloo Region, Explore Waterloo Region Board, and the Advocacy Committee for the Ontario BIA Association. We hosted many new social media and advertising campaigns showcasing Uptown businesses. We created new placemaking activities like Meet Me on Princess, Dominion Lane Art Walk, the Fuse interactive lighting, and Halloween and winter art walks located on the windows of businesses, as well as the trails, maps, and walks that I mentioned earlier, encouraging people to take self-guided tours and explore the Uptown, all of what Uptown has to offer. Importantly, we continue to connect individually with their businesses to provide advice, connections, and support. We could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. We continued regular walkabouts as part of our partnership with the police and working center, checking in with marginalized individuals and also with businesses and owners and security personnel around any safety concerns that they might be having. Our proactive Uptown graffiti project has continued to be successful with almost 1,223 tags removed throughout the year. And we continued with our outdoor beautification programming, and I have to say the Uptown continued to look beautiful each season. Moving forward, we will work with our membership as they work to recover while staying true to what's important: thriving businesses and economy, healthy lifestyle options, beautiful and useful outdoor spaces, innovative learning opportunities, caring neighborhoods, impactful arts and civic engagement, and sustainable development. And if we can go to the last slide. Thank you. So here's our budget for 2022 that our board has approved, and now we're hoping that council will also be approving that. So you'll see, based on last year versus this year, that we have once again had a balanced budget. We have not made any changes to the BIA boundary at this time. Levies are proportionate to the property values, and once again, we did not increase them in 2022. We just felt that given the many challenges being faced by our membership, now wasn't the time to do that. When you look at our revenues, they're a little bit down, and that's due to some less funding coming from the City of Waterloo with the Come Back Up funding, because you guys were so generous last year and we so appreciated it, and so did our businesses. Our admin is up a little bit due to some new hires and a benefit increase of 8%. And when you look at marketing and beautification, marketing is down slightly, but made up in beautification, because that's in response to the increased focus that we have on placemaking. And with that, if you could just go to the last slide, that's our presentation for today. I'm open to answering any questions that anybody might have with regards to what we just shared today. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Tracy, for your leadership and over 2021, I guess over the past 2 years now with respect to the pandemic, you know, keeping everything going and actually being so innovative. I know you covered a number of things, but just the Uptown BIA has been so innovative, so creative, and I think tireless. I think to the holiday window painting and how some of that is still up, and it was so good this year, so well done, so artistic. And that's just sort of the most recent one. And today being the day that we can start enjoying our Uptown restaurants again in person, you know, just quite a trajectory forward I think we have for 2022. And I think that, you know, I think that your team, your new team, your fresh team does an awesome job. And I'm sure board members like Councillor Tinio Bonagor are probably quite proud. And with that, I'll turn it over to Councillor Bonagor as she has her hand up.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Jaworski. Yes, you are entirely correct. I mean, I love Uptown. I'm lucky enough to live nearby, but there's just so much that's already there, and there's still so much potential and promise for what's to come in the city's core. And I have to extend my thanks to Tracy and Nancy for all of the dedication and hard work that you put into this. It's a heavy lift, and you do it with style and always a smile, and you're positive and optimistic. And I think that energy just feeds into so much. So thank you to both of you. It's still, you know, it's, as you said, Tracy, it's probably not an easy year that lies ahead. And I think for anyone who hasn't been Uptown lately, please come. There's lots of old favorites to visit and lots of new places to explore. But I was just wondering, Tracy, if you could maybe take a moment to give us an idea of some of the things that you're looking forward to this year as we try and just really give extra underpinnings to the businesses that are Uptown.
Sure, thank you for that question, and through you, Mayor, to everybody. I think that the main focus for us this year, and I really appreciate all the kind words that both you, Tenille, and the Mayor shared with us around the team and the work that we've been doing. We have had some new people join the team. They are dynamite. I can't speak enough great things about them. I'm so excited about the things that we're talking about for this year. They have so much passion for Uptown and for their community. And yeah, I'm just thrilled. So things that we're looking forward to doing for 2022 really are focusing on placemaking, continuing to make Uptown a destination for many people. And you know, when people are spending time in a place, they're going to go and shop and hang out and eat at places too. So yeah, there's going to be a big focus on that. You know, last year we had the Princess Street closure, the Dominion Lane Street closure, or sorry, Laneway closure, the public art that we've been doing, working alongside many of the local artists. And what's great about that, and what I love, is that we're actually employing local artists to do the work too. So that's been another group that's been badly hit and affected by the pandemic. So being able to provide them with work, I think, is so important. And so you'll see us doing those types of things and continue to build on those closures, that activation, that vibrancy. The market was a great thing that we started last year, and because we had such a great result with the night market, you know, to be able to think about doing something like that with Oktoberfest, and how great that turned out for the first time ever of doing that outdoor market was amazing. And so we're putting in to get some additional funding through the My Main Street grants to continue that work, and to continue to create really interesting places to visit, things to see, that vibe that will drive people to come to Uptown and spend time. Hopefully that answers your question there, Councillor Bonagor.
It certainly does. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you more this year.
Thank you. And I have to say too about the kind words, but I didn't thank the board, because I'll tell you, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the caring, really amazing people that sit around our board as well. And you're one of them, Tennille. I know Nancy Fox is who's our board chair, is also on the call. We're just so grateful to have the leadership of that group. They really are, they have their finger on the pulse of Uptown. They're you know, breathing in Uptown every day, and help us as great ambassadors to be able to get the word out, but also to support the work that's being done by the BIA. And we're very grateful for that too.
Thank you all. And just another side note to thank the Uptown BIA for partnering with us whenever there's a community special day, as there was on Saturday, the National Day of Remembrance of the Quebec City Mosque attack and action against Islamophobia, where we've had the Green Square campaign, and the Uptown BIA was ready and able to light our King Street trees all in green for Saturday. I know Tracy wanted to have a meeting with me at Friday at 4, but the CTV really wanted to highlight the work that was going on with the trees and that, and for how we can take action against Islamophobia and support these causes. And I just really appreciate the BIA. Was happy to highlight the BIA and all the action that we're taking as we, you know, continue this journey. So thank you very much for that too, Tracy.
It's our pleasure, and you know, that's one of the great things about those LED lights, is that we can create awareness about different incidents or different actions that are taking place in our community and around the world. So what a great way to do that and help to spread that awareness.
Excellent. And I see no further questions, so thank you very much, Tracy. Thank your team very much. And to Nancy Fox and the rest of the board, thank you for your service, making the Uptown Core one of the best uptowns in all Canada. But we have to move on. And we're going to move on to staff reports. And item A is the neighborhood grants, funds distributed in 2021. A report prepared for us by Julie Legg and Amy Ross. And does anybody have any questions on that report for Julie? I don't see any, but I do see hands up ready to move it because it's such a good report and good for the neighborhoods. Moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Freeman. I'll go to the mover first.
Councillor Henry in favor.
This is Councillor Bonagor in favor.
Councillor Hanmer in favor.
Councillor Bodley in favor.
Councillor Veith in favor.
Councillor Freeman in favor.
Councillor Vasic in favor.
And the mayor's in favor too. That carries unanimously. Thank you very much for taking our budget and pushing it into our neighborhoods. Very much appreciated, Julie, helping them out. And Amy, in your old role. Moving on to item B, the release of additional cemetery reserve funds for the retort replacement and building improvements, a report prepared for us by Roy Doucette. I don't believe I think we're just here for questions, and if you tuned into CBC with Craig Norris this morning, you probably would have had all your questions answered by Rory, and Councillor Vasic was on there as well in a recorded portion. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, Councillor Vasic, please go ahead.
Thanks, through you, Mayor Jaworski. I do have one question about the 400,000, because earlier when we were, I mean, this was a couple years now, when this was brought to council originally, there was a pretty big renovation that was proposed initially that went to public consultation. So I just wanted to confirm that the 400,000 is for the retort specifically itself, just a matter of construction costs going up, and that there isn't any kind of aesthetic factors built into the 400,000.
Through Mayor Jaworski to Councillor Vasic, thank you for the question. I can confirm that this money is just to cover the increase in raw material costs for the building. There is no artistic piece to this. It's going to be a very modest expansion of this, the crematorium to house the new unit.
Okay, great. And then I'm happy to move with a brief comment when that's appropriate.
Well, we'll just wait for some hands to go up here, and I don't see anyone, but we have Councillor Vasic moving it, Councillor V seconding it. I'll go back to you, Councillor Vasic. Please go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I just want to say thanks for all your work on this. I mean, increased construction costs are just a bit of a nature of the pandemic for everyone everywhere. And so I'm glad to see this report coming in asking for this. And it feels great that the money is there in the reserve. So lots of prudent financial management on city's end for many years on this. And it's a great resource to have to provide a barrier-free burial and cremation, and I think it's yeah, I think we're lucky to have a public service like this that also doesn't take from the tax base largely as well. So well done, everyone, and I move and I vote in favor.
Councillor Henry in favor.
Councillor Bonagor in favor.
Councillor Hanmer in favor.
Councillor Bodley in favor.
Councillor Veith in favor.
Councillor Freeman in favor.
And the mayor's in favor too. That carries unanimously. Just on a side note, Rory, thank you very much for all your service, for all you've done for us for the past few years. The last 2 years have been very trying, that's for sure. And you know, just hearing you on the radio this morning just shows your continued exemplary service. So thank you very much for all you've done getting the city of Waterloo to this part. So thank you, Rory, and thanks to Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council.
With that, we move on to item C, land donation. Not something you see very often, but something that's very exciting. Land donation right beside the Wilmot line. Report prepared for us by Jeff Silcox-Childs. We'll just put up on the screen. Thank you very much to the clerk's team for putting that up there. You'll see the Wilmot line on the left-hand side there, and city property surrounding this, and a land donation right in between. There'll be a great addition for the city of Waterloo. Jeff, do you want to make some comments about the utility of the land and how important it is to the city?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, and to our people listening in. Very excited about this. When this proposal came forward not that long ago, we jumped at the opportunity. Vista Hills is a beautiful, beautiful woodlot, and this is just natural extension of that. In fact, if you've hiked this area, I would almost guarantee that you've already hiked through this section. You probably just didn't realize it. So very much looking forward to bringing it online. In terms of future, what the future holds for this piece of land, as we develop trail systems through the area, we would certainly be looking at this now more closely in order to advance those, and it would simply be passive recreation enjoyment.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to the ward councillor who's ready to move this. We'll still be looking for a seconder. Please go ahead, Councillor Bodley.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Jaworski. I just want to echo what Mr. Silcox-Childs there said about the property. Very, very exciting to see this get sort of rolled into the rest of the forest and the city-owned property there. And I just wanted to publicly thank the family for donating this land to the city and for their many years of environmental stewardship of this extraordinarily important asset to the city of Waterloo. And anything we can do to expand the ESL in the northwest corner of the city and or the ESPA 19 in this corner of the city is always very well appreciated by council and by the public. From an environmental stewardship perspective, you know, in my opinion, true as much as the family has done exemplary work in environmental stewardship of this area, true environmental protection and stewardship requires, in my opinion, public ownership. And so it's very, very greatly appreciated to see this roll into the rest of ESPA 19 for generations in the future to enjoy and protect. And happy to move that and vote in favor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I note that Councillor Hanmer has seconded it, but we'll continue on with Ward 3 and voting.
Councillor Veith in favor.
Councillor Freeman in favor.
Councillor Bassick in favor.
Councillor Henry in favor.
Councillor Bonagor in favor.
Councillor Hanmer in favor.
And the mayor's in favor too. That carries unanimously, of course. Please express our profuse thank you to the family surrounding this donation, Jeff.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you.
Moving on, that's sort of the end of things there with respect to staff reports. And we move on. We have no notice of motion, no communications of correspondence. We'll move on to item 14, questions. Does any councillor have questions of staff? Please go ahead, Councillor Bonagor.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Jaworski. This is a question just for senior staff, for whomever would like to take it. And it comes on the back of the massive snowstorm that came through and some of the challenges that residents were having getting around the city. First of all, I recognise the huge amount of work that staff were under, and I thank them for being out at all hours in all weather. I was just for Ward 7 in particular, though, there was a lot of community feedback regarding snowplow residue and windrows, particularly at intersections. So I just wanted to ask, and to have senior staff, whomever wishes to do so, can you please just confirm for residents who are listening in that this is an issue that's on your radar and that resident concerns are being heard?
Good afternoon, Mayor Jaworski, members of council. It's Ron Ormson here. Through you, Mayor, I think I can take a stab at Councillor Bonacor's question. Yes, we understand that there were a lot of windrows and there were some people who would observe some additional snow accumulation at intersections and at daylighting triangles. We will actually be finished loading all of the snow at those locations as of this evening, provided we don't get any more snow tonight. So we are aware of the concerns, Councillor. We are looking at some other options, such as the use of a rover, maybe perhaps use the road patroller to look at some spot locations where there's some additional, accumulation that becomes bothersome to people. And also, where possible, to use more of our contract blowers and load some snow. So we are aware of it. It was an unusual event, as everyone knows. We had greater than 35 centimeters of snow in a 24-hour period, which was one of the worst storms we had in recent memory. But we certainly are aware of the concerns. We know that people are at home during the pandemic. They need to have access to their sidewalks and their driveways. So the team is doubling down on its efforts and is getting ready for the next event that might come around the corner. So hopefully that helps.
That's a great help. Thank you so much, Mr. Romson. And may I just say that if nothing else, my children were delighted to have so much snowfall. So at least there were some happy residents. Thank you.
Well, happy to hear that nice report from our youthful residents. It's always good to hear positive feedback. You can give them the email address. It's mayor@waterloo.ca for them to reach out to me with their kind notes as well. Moving on to, any further questions? I'm looking for any hands. I don't see any. Anyone have any new business to mention? Go ahead, Councillor Bonnegar.
Yes, sorry, it's me again. Thank you, through you, Mayor Jaworski. I just wanted to give a massive shout out to all of the volunteers and all of the staff who helped make Waterloo happen on the weekend. It was snowy, it was cold, it was sunny, and there was so much fun stuff to do, even with the scaled down version that we had. I just wanted to thank all the staff for the very obvious consideration that they had put into choosing what could go where, and to thank the artists for sharing their work with everything. I saw lots of happy people wandering around the Uptown core, and it was just beautiful to see. So thank you, everyone. Awesome job.
I will concur. And when I was over at the what do we call the train station lot? Is that what it's called? Anyway, over there where they're handing out the balloons to make your own take-home ice cube, so to speak, some sort of artwork. And I noticed the kids were going down the snow hill, and I said, "Oh, that's the first time we've ever had a snow hill here for the kids to go up and down." And they said, "Actually, that's not part of Waterloo. That's just the pile of snow that's been created by all the snow that's been falling." But kids were enjoying it nonetheless. There's nothing like free fun for families. Moving on, I don't see any other new business. Enacting bylaws, I have Councillor Henry is wishing to move them, and Councillor Bodley is wishing to second them, and we'll start the voting with Ward 1, please.
Councillor Hanmer in favor.
Bodley in favor.
Councillor Veith in favor.
Councillor Freeman in favor.
Councillor Vasic in favor.
Councillor Henry in favor.
Councillor Bonnegar in favor.
And the mayor's in favor too. I'm wondering if the same people would consider moving adjournment. That would be moved by Councillor Henry, second by Councillor Bodley. And seeing them not arguing about that, we'll go with the voting, beginning with Ward 1, please.
Councillor Hanmer in favor.
Councillor Bodley in favor.
Councillor Veith in favor.
Councillor Freeman in favor.
Councillor Vasic in favor.
Councillor Henry in favor.
Councillor Bonnegar in favor.
And the mayor's in favor too, and hopefully everybody has a chance to enjoy some winter fun in the Uptown, perhaps supporting any of our local restaurants throughout any of the great wards 1 through 7, as we all look to make sure that that part of supporting local is heartily endorsed by all of us. So with that, I'll see you around.